Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About Layoffs, and this is in the series of the ABCs of Career Development. So today we're going to focus in on the letter B, which we're going to talk about balance. So we hear so much from so many different people about work-life balance, and one thing that I will say is there was challenges and pros and cons, and people who didn't even like the term or the concept, the language, I guess, for work-life balance even before the pandemic. But with the pandemic came really a swirl and a mesh of what does work-life balance even look like. There's not here's work, here's life anymore. It felt like everything was in the same pot, and it's you bounce back and forth for the most part, especially being in the space or the environment so many were in that they had to have their work and their life in the same space, and that caused some challenges and some difficulty. So what I really want to talk about in this episode is thinking about balance, thinking about just where your mind is and where your brain is when you think about your career and you focus on your career versus you're thinking about your personal life and what's going on there. You're definitely not going to have like a 50-50 balance, and I'm not even going to say that's a perfect balance because it's different for everyone. But you should also not 100% spend all your time into your career versus having a life and having something outside of that. Your career should not be your identity. And this came up not too long ago when I had a conversation with someone, and I had mentioned that it is really hard when you get laid off because sometimes your career does become so embedded in your identity. So even in my experience, I was with a company for 27 years, and I that became just a regular part of my life, and I did have to work really hard on what that balance is between work and my personal life. And even with my cancer diagnosis in 2020, with the pandemic in 2020, that really brought to light like what are the really important things, and being able to really rebalance and shift where I spend my focus, where I spend my time, and making sure that it is a healthy mix. And there are so many times that individuals will have to do this rebalancing. I've had to do it on many occasions, and I even had a conversation with somebody else, and I said, it's also going to be a challenge when I find another full-time job, which I'm looking for right now, and to figure out, and for anybody who's been laid off and has been not working, or they have not had that big chunk of work in their life, maybe they're doing some other things that were on the side and bringing those more hours into those. But it is definitely going to be a rebalance again, and figuring out what is that best fit for all of those pieces. And what I've always given the analogy of the plates, holding up all the plates. Do you have to set some down for a little bit? Do you have to change out the bigger plates for some smaller ones? Like, what does that look like? And having to figure out how do you really rebalance what you're juggling, what you're holding on to, for you to be healthy. And sometimes that has to be a heavier load in the beginning. So if we think about especially going back into a full-time job, the training, it's a different organization, getting to know the people, build the relationships, learn about the organization, learn about the processes. So the plate could be really, really heavy. Maybe we need a bowl because it's so heavy of what we take on with that full-time job initially, and we have to put some things down or kind of make things a little bit smaller, other things that we're doing. And I already have those in mind, like what does that look like and what do I start to do? So it's not anxiety ridden, it's not overwhelming and feeling too much like a challenge, because I'm preparing myself now knowing that that's going to happen. So I just wanted to touch on that and share a little bit about the whole concept of balance. Interested to hear if you want to join in on the Facebook group. We have changed the name from Let's Talk About Layoffs. for the Facebook group, and it's now called Career Development and Transitions. So if you're not already a member of the group, look us up on Facebook, join us, and share in on the conversation, what you have found in your efforts to find balance between your career and your personal life. And I wish you all the best. Have a great day.